Beck. Here. Gannon. Here. Hoskins. Razor. Schroer. Here. Trent.
All right, we have a quorum. We'll go ahead and start with Senate Bill 234. Senator Brown.
There we go. For the record, I'm Senator Ben Brown, representing the 26th District, and I'd like to thank the committee for the opportunity to present SB234. What this bill does is change the date of school board elections so that they would be held on the date of the November general election. Decisions made by local school board members tend to be some of the most important and have some of the most direct impacts on our communities, from COVID-19 safety protocols, negotiations over school reopenings, and debates over how to teach about sensitive questions relating to race and American history. School board decisions have serious implications for the 90% of students who attend public schools and their families. Yet so many of these decision makers are chosen by a small and unrepresentative slice of voters. So why is turnout so low in school board elections? On average, voter turnout for April school board races is only between 5 and 10%. Compare that to around 60% for presidential elections. The byproduct of holding these elections in April is that the balance of power tends to tilt in favor of groups with resources to mobilize their supporters. As a result, special interest candidates and incumbents are rarely held accountable for their performance. We can address this problem by moving these races to uncycled November elections so that they are concurrent with higher turnout federal and statewide elections. In addition to reducing the influence of special interest groups, this bill would also result in greater accountability to the public. As it stands, incumbent school board members are unlikely to be sanctioned at the ballot box for poor in-office performance by the small subset of voters who participate in off-cycle elections. On-cycle elections would also improve substantive representation, the degree in which local government policy reflects the preferences of the majority of constituents. The future of our nation is largely dependent upon the children that are working their way through the public school system as we speak. By aligning these races with other higher profile elections, we are ensuring they receive the consideration these important elections deserve and that the results reflect the will of the communities served by the districts. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for the bill sponsor? Senator Brattin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator, for this bill. I think it is something that we definitely have to look at. By the way, these municipal elections are held in such low voter turnout. I also think that what's put on the ballot for taxes and levy increases and so on and so forth need to be looked at as well, because it's where you have 5 to 8. 10 if we're lucky, percent of voters show up to dictate what happens at for the rest and remainder of people. Another provision I think that we need to look at, and I know many people will bark, is the partisan aspect of these elections. I know everybody wants to run around and say these are nonpartisan positions, but anytime you put your name on a ballot, and you're elected by the people, there in turn is by default a partisan position because you're voting and you're taking stances on it. So that's one thing I would like to also see. I would love to move to a November, but also just to where people are declaring, what values, what parties they represent for that elected position, because it is an elected position. So at any rate, I just wanted to kind of more so make a comment. I think this is something we really do have to address, and I appreciate you bringing this forward. Thank you.
Other questions for the bill sponsor? Seeing none, first witness and testifying in support of Senate Bill 234. First person
Chairman, members of the committee, Alex Eaton, registered lobbyist for the Missouri Century Foundation. We would like to go on record in support of Senate Bill 234. Appreciate Senator Brown bringing this forward. Happy to take any questions, but the sponsor did a great job of explaining why we'd like to see this move to November, and appreciate the consideration.
Next witness testifying in support, Senate Bill 234. First witness in opposition.
Thank you, Senators, members of the committee. Sean Rose, registered lobbyist, Missouri School Board Association. We're going on record in opposition. Just a couple points. Obviously, the local school board in a rural area, we're talking about probably making this a little more expensive to get airtime or those kind of things, which is a concern we have. Obviously, I was on the school board in West Plains before I was elected to the body, and I didn't spend any money. I just knocked doors and that kind of thing, and it helped. But that's kind of one of those things. I really feel like that maybe down ballot, and I don't know if there's any kind of data to back that up, and maybe the senator has that, what the down ballot would be on that and what the turnout is on down ballot voting. But I understand the point of the senator and wanting more voter turnout on those kind of things. I don't know how we legislate personal responsibility sometime, because I know probably everybody in the room is pretty good about every time that there's an election or something going on, they go vote. Unfortunately, we don't have people that do that. I don't know how we get to that point. But with that, won't belabor any more points. If you have any questions, I'd like to help you as much as possible.
Questions for this witness? Seeing none. Next witness testifying in opposition, Senate Bill 234.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Otto Fajan on behalf of Missouri NEA. We'd like to speak briefly in opposition, just mention 2 points. The first one is we actually think that what the previous witness was speaking to could be helped. There's legislation, several bills percolating on both sides of the building right now to restore more local control for school districts. We actually think that if that were the case, that could probably create a better perception that the school board has a lot more say in how things are run and really engage more interest in the community in being on the school board. The second thing we would just mention is this makes pretty profound changes to the structure of the school board terms. It forces all school districts to go to a 4-year term, which means you are asking people to serve an extra year. It also means that you're going to be electing, if you have 7-member boards, you'll be electing 4 and then 3 alternately. That means you're actually going to have open spots that comprise a majority of the school board every other election, and that doesn't really support the kind of the continuity of governance, because you could potentially have a whole lot of new people who don't know a lot about the financial and legal aspects of being a school board member coming in all at once. That's a big training job. Right now it's 2, 2, and 3, so you're never electing a whole new majority to the board. With those, we'd be happy to answer any questions now or offline.
Questions for this witness? Seeing none. Next
Thank you, Mr.
witness
Chairman.
testifying in opposition, Senate Bill 234.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Adam Raper, just dropping off testimony on behalf of Steve Carroll, couldn't make it this morning, for St. Louis Public School District and the cooperating school districts of Greater Kansas City. Just wanted to echo some of the concerns of the previous witness and go on record in opposition.
Next witness in opposition.
Good morning, Tammy Henderson with North Kansas City Schools. Just a couple things that I would like to point out that you all might take into consideration. One of the, upsides of having the April elections, our school district, for example, we have 14 municipalities within our school district. All of those municipalities have their own elections during the April elections. So you have Kansas City, Missouri, Gladstone, North Kansas City, Clay Como, Pleasant Valley, a bunch of other ones as well. So actually, by having all those together in April, you do occur, or you do see a greater amount of folks show up to vote. The other thing I wanted to comment on Senator Brattin's point, school board election, or not school board elections, but bond and levy elections are highly dictated in terms of on odd years you can do them in certain months. You have to have a higher percentage. Even years, it's a little different depending on what month you pick. So there are a lot of you can do it November, April, August, February, I think. But it depends on the year as far as what percentage of the vote you need to get, if it's a simple majority or a higher majority. So there are those rules in place now. I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Next witness in opposition, Senate Bill 234. Anybody testifying for informational purposes only on Senate Bill 234? All right, seeing none, you have any further remarks? Any? All right, that concludes our hearing on Senate Bill 234. We will now go to Senate Bill. Senator Carter's not here in the room, is she? No. All right. We will go to Senate Bill 226.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of this fine committee. For the record, I am State Senator Nick Schroer from the 2nd in St. Charles County, presenting Senate Bill 226 today. You know, they say that in the U.S., this is the land of the free. And for many issues, this is true. But many Missourians would disagree with that mantra being applied to education. In our state, Missourians are typically handcuffed to the educational institutions connected to their zip codes. With financial means, they can take their children to different schools that best meet the needs of those children, but not everyone has that ability. However, little to no options exist for many in our state. My story is not unique. I grew up in Ferguson, Missouri. I know there's a fellow colleague here that grew up in the same area, went to Bermuda school like I did. And after a teacher assaulted me in 3rd grade, my parents looked for other options. Ultimately, at that time, my parents had to work extra hours, make ends meet, and collect a little bit of extra money to send me to a private school in a neighboring area. There I found out just how far behind the public school was in the Ferguson-Florissant area, teaching many core concepts. Recently, someone in this building on the other side, speaking against parents having a choice in education, said that they didn't want a certain type of person coming from urban areas to their good schools. I take offense to that statement, as I was that kid. I was the kid that grew up in the bad part of town. I was the kid that wouldn't have had that choice if my parents didn't work extra. And as a result, I ended up being the first member of my family to go to college, go to law school, and ultimately serve in this body. Senate Bill 226 merely gives kids in these struggling schools a chance. It empowers parents to take an active role in their child's education to send them to the institution that best meets their needs. And I think looking at the results today that came out with the APR distribution, something needs to change. Something needs to happen. Our kids need options. Our kids need what's in their best interest. And this is a starting point for discussion on figuring out what is the best way to meet those kids' needs. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Questions for the bill sponsor? Seeing none. First witness testifying in support of Senate Bill 226.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Jamie Morris with the Missouri Catholic Conference here in support. I want to thank the bill sponsor. I've been here the last few weeks. I won't repeat everything I said, but just our basic view is that the parents are the first and foremost educators of their children, and so anything that gives them the opportunity to direct the education of their child the way they see fit. And as I've said, I think in previous hearings that we a lot of times will even get caught up sort of on failing schools versus not failing schools, and to us, it's not even about that. It is just sometimes a school is just not the right fit for a particular family or student. And so anything, whether that's a public school, private school, parochial school, anything that lets a parent direct how their child is educated, and give an opportunity for those that maybe would not otherwise have that opportunity, we are in support of. So again, I want to thank the bill sponsor, I want to thank the committee for hearing this, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Next witness testifying in support, Senate Bill 226. Next witness in opposition to Senate Bill 226.
I'm not in opposition, sorry.
Oh, all right.
Fast enough. Kate Casas, American Federation for Children, going on record in support of the bill. Happy to answer any questions.
Seeing none. Next, anybody else in favor? All right, next witness in opposition. Anybody? We're a little bit shy this morning, it looks like.
Mr. Chairman, you're moving pretty fast. Authorizes on behalf of Missouri NEA. We would just want to, at a minimum, point out the fiscal note for Senate Bill 226, as it reads, is $1.3 billion. So if the legislature were wanting to do something like this, there's already federal tax code that already speaks to the 529 plans being used for K-12 education. But if the legislature wants to move in this direction, they probably need to look at the overall financial impact of $1.3 billion coming through a tax credit, which once you do it, it's kind of out of your hands. It's no longer an appropriation thing. And so if there's not some sort of appropriate adjustment in the tax code to offset that, you're going to be putting all of your members who work on the budget into essentially an impossible situation down the road as the federal money goes away and we relax back to a more normal economy. So with that, we'd have to go on record in opposition to Senate Bill 226 as filed.
Next witness in opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Mike Lodewigan on behalf of the Missouri Council of School Administrators. I'm not going to repeat what we've said for the last couple of weeks on these similar sort of bills. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if we're going to do choice, we need to make sure that whatever we do ensures that we have an apples-to-apples comparison of how we are performing, how schools are performing, so parents can make an educated choice. I don't think that anyone can say that you can understand exactly how well schools are doing right now given the information that's currently out there. So whatever we do in this space, I think we need to have a way to compare accurately how these schools are doing. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Next witness in opposition. Anybody testifying for informational purposes only? All right, that concludes our hearing on Senate Bill 226. I'll make a motion to go to executive session. It's been taken. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, the ayes have it. I'll make a motion to bring up Senate Bill 255. Been seconded. All of those in favor say aye. All those opposed. This is Senator Brattin's bill, and we do have a sub. I'll go ahead and.
Yep. So there's been some concern with the homeschool sector having an issue with potential government intervening. So basically what this substitute does, it just puts a belt and suspenders wording and verbiage to ensure that there is no sort of government interjecting itself into the curriculum, anything to do with homeschooling whatsoever. So that's what this does. It's on page 8 of the sub. Section 5 is where the strengthening language is. Anyway, that's what the addition is to this bill.
I'll make a motion to adopt the substitute. Been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. And I'll make a motion to pass Senate Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 255.
Second.
Been seconded.
Chairman Koenig,
Aye.
Vice Chair Brattin,
Aye.
Senators Arthur, Beck, Gannon, Hoskins, Razor. Schroer. Trent.
Motion carries. You have due pass Senate Bill 250, or Senate Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 255. I'll make a motion to pass Senate Bill 304. This is Senator Eigel's charter expansion bill. Discussion. There's not a substitute on this, so I'll make a motion to pass Senate Bill 304.
Second.
It's been second.
Chairman Koenig.
Aye.
Vice Chair Brattin.
Aye.
Senators Arthur. Beck.
No.
Gannon. Hoskins. Razor. Schroer. Trent.
All right, you have due pass Senate Bill 304. I'll make a motion to due pass Senate Bill 360. This was my bill, kind of an update to the ESA program. There is a sub. The only thing the sub does is make an expansion geographically. Discussion. It's been seconded. I'll make a motion to adopt the substitute.
Second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Discussion on the substitute. Seeing none, I'll make a motion to do pass Senate Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 360.
Second.
Been seconded.
Chairman Koenig.
Aye.
Vice Chair Brattin.
Aye.
Senators Arthur. Beck.
No.
Gannon. Hoskins. Razor. Schroer. Trent.
You have due passed Senate Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 360. I'll make a motion to go out of executive session.
Second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. We'll now do a hearing on Senate Bill 230 and 411. We're going to do these together, so if both sponsors want to come up and present together, that'd be fine. And on your witness form, please make sure you're stating that we're going to do this together, so come testify on both bills together or opposition. Obviously, you don't have to say you support both of them, but please do so on your note on your witness form. Proceed, Senator Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. SB230 is what I like to call the Opportunity to Play Act. SB230 would allow homeschool students the opportunity to try out for, participate in activities offered through their local public school throughout middle school and high school. Currently, homeschool students can participate in little leagues and travel teams with their friends growing up. They are involved in the community, participating in activities with other community members, often with these events taking place at the local high school. This all changes when these kids reach 7th grade and Misha takes over. I have several witnesses here from my district who woke up at 4 o'clock this morning to be able to testify. And so with my time, I'd like to be able to make sure that they have enough time to do so. Thank you for your support.
Questions for this bill sponsor? Seeing none. All right, go. Proceed, Senator Brown.
For the record, I'm Ben Brown, Senator for the 26th District. I'd like to thank the committee for the opportunity to present committee sub for SB411. As it stands, Missouri parents who choose to take on the additional burden of homeschooling their children are not permitted to participate in sports and other extracurricular activities without class requirements. This is despite the fact that these parents are still required to pay the taxes that help fund these programs, while also taking on the additional investment of time and financial resources that come with providing homeschooling. As a former athlete myself whose childhood was greatly impacted by my participation in the sport of wrestling, I feel strongly that it is wrong to deny these potentially life-changing opportunities to children. SB411 simply provides the school district shall not prohibit a homeschool or full-time virtual school student from participating in athletic and extracurricular programs that are funded in part by their parents' tax dollars. While it provides access to these programs, it also states that school disciplinary policies would still apply. This ensures that homeschooled students would still be held to the same behavior standards as their full-time public school counterparts. Given the current landscape where children are bound to a school district based on their residency, homeschooling may be the only feasible alternative for parents who reside in an underperforming district. It's not right that a child be denied the additional enrichment and life skills that participation in youth athletics provides, simply because their parents wish to take it upon themselves to ensure the quality of their children's education. It's time for Missouri to join the other states that have already moved to allow homeschooled students to access extracurricular activities, so I hope the committee joins me in supporting SB411. Happy to take any questions.
Questions from the committee? Seeing none. First witness testifying in support of Senate Bill 230 and Senate Bill 411. Please make sure all witnesses fill out a witness form.
Ladies and gentlemen of the committee, thank you for hearing my testimony this morning. My name is Jonah Speaker. I'm a 16-year-old homeschooled junior. I enjoy working out, playing football, basketball, lifting weights, and eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So why not us? That's the question my football coach asked in the middle of a rough start to our football season. Why not us? Somebody had to end the season with a win. Why not us? Just like the hungry football team, homeschoolers around the state have been asking, why not us? Why can't we play sports at our local public school? As a second grader, I attended my local public school, but I was an energetic kid and had trouble sitting still for long periods of time. That is when my parents decided to homeschool me. During my years of education at home, I have transformed from the kid who could not sit still to the studious high school junior, taking 12 hours of college dual enrollments in the spring semester on top of the 9 I completed last fall. Today, I'm here to ask you to support Senate Bills 230 and 411, which would allow homeschoolers to participate in sports and other activities at their local public school. You may be asking, don't homeschoolers have their own sports? In urban communities, homeschooled athletes have access to competitive teams. However, this is not the case in rural communities where a student could be hours from the nearest competitive team. Going into my freshman year, I was faced with this dilemma. The nearest 11-man football team was 90 miles from my home, or I could seek the opportunity down the street in what is arguably the best football program in the state of Missouri. Under the current Missouri State High School Athletic Association policy, Activities Association policy, a homeschooled high school student must enroll in 2 classes at the public school in order to participate. However, individual school districts can and are more restrictive, and there is a complete prohibition on junior high participation. Throughout my elementary school years, I participated in local school and city-sponsored activities with my public school peers. That came to an abrupt end when I entered into 7th grade. I was cut off from the athletic community that I had experienced my whole life. Thankfully, when I reached 9th grade, Webb City reconsidered homeschool access and removed their complete prohibition. In the Webb City School District, I am allowed to participate under the MSHA standard of 2 classes per day. However, at least 3 of the neighboring school districts have a complete ban on homeschool participation. So this policy is not applied equally across the state. On 2 separate occasions, my family sought change and met with the president of MSHA. On one occasion, we were accompanied by Senator O'Laughlin, who has sponsored this legislation for the past few years, after the retirement of its previous Senator Emery, who I consider a role model personally and politically. I am grateful that I was able to know him. Our appeals to MSHA have been met with the blame game. MSHA blames member schools for voting on the policy, and the member schools blame MSHA for creating the rules and the ballot on which they vote. During the 2022 legislative session, assurances were made by the MSHA lobbyists that they understood the problems and were seeking change. We were informed that the changes would be made to compel the school districts to conform to the policy of 2 classes or less and include junior high participation. However, in August, when we followed up with another meeting with the MSHA president on these changes, MSHA denied having the authority to place limits on what schools could require a homeschool student to do in order to participate. Therefore, without a law, some school districts will continue the open discrimination against competitive homeschooled participants. Those who oppose this legislation may tell you that they don't know if homeschoolers hold to the MSHA eligibility standards. However, MSHA's current system, in order to participate in extracurriculars, a student cannot be failing more than 1 class. That's not a very high bar to clear. As long as a homeschool family is in compliance with the state law for homeschooling, that should be sufficient. Under Missouri law, homeschool parents face jail time if they are found out of compliance with the law. Ladies and gentlemen of the committee, I implore you to vote for Senate Bills 230 and 411, which would allow homeschool students to participate in extracurriculars at their local public school. My team, the Webb City Cardinals, went on to win the Class 5 state championship. I was able to become the youngest but 5th state champion of my family. Tax-paying homeschoolers should have the opportunity to compete for state championships. You have the power to change the lives of homeschooled athletes across the state. I've worked on this issue for years and would love to see it across the finish line. Though I will graduate and go to college, there are many others that will be coming behind me. So let's pass this bill for their sake. I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Senator Schroer.
Just want to thank you for coming down today and testifying on what I think is a common sense bill. Through your testimony, I do have one question, though. I know you mentioned peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Yes, sir.
Crunchy or creamy?
I like creamy.
Okay, well.
But I like both. Like, there's a time for both.
There is a time for
There is
both.
a time for both.
Thank you again for coming. You got my support.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Seeing none. All right. Can I get a show of hands of who wants to testify on these bills? All right. All right. Next witness in support of Senate Bill 220 and 411.
Hello, everybody. My name is Judah Meredith. I am 13 years old, and I currently live in Joplin, Missouri. I have been homeschooled my whole life and have played a variety of sports since 2nd grade. I'm in junior high now, and options to play competitive sports have become increasingly limited. I currently wrestle with a club in Webb City, but this is the last year I can wrestle due to MSHA regulations. MSHA currently bans students who are not enrolled in the school from playing sports on the school's junior high teams, while city and club leagues have become increasingly harder to find for my age group. An argument that we have heard repeatedly is that we have opportunities to play sports through club teams that are not connected to schools and therefore allow students from any school district. These are available in large cities like St. Louis or Kansas City, but in small towns such as mine, there are very few of these, and if they exist, they are not usually on the same competitive level as activities through the school. My dad played football in college, and I would love to do the same, but when non-traditional students are banned from participating in sports, it limits our opportunities to earn college scholarships through athletics or even the ability to play sports in college. And when the ban on junior high participation for homeschooled students takes away critical years of development and team building for those who want to continue playing in high school and puts them at a disadvantage. In the end, I asked for your support of these bills. Thank you for listening to my testimony.
Next witness testifying in support.
Hello. Hello. My name is Matthew Meredith. I am 13 and I live in Joplin, Missouri. I played a variety of sports through city leagues, but when I went into 7th grade, it got harder to find sports I could play. The state of Missouri, due to MSHA regulations, currently has a complete ban on non-traditional students playing sports in junior high, and city leagues stop at around my age. I currently wrestle for Webb City club team, but this is the last year I can participate by age. We are trying to get a Joplin travel football team together, but so far can't get enough players. In high school, non-traditional students are allowed to participate in 2 classes at the school, per MSHA regulations. But my city says no to homeschool participation. They don't allow it at all. The neighboring school districts of Carthage and Carl Junction also say no. I am a homeschooled student, which is a good fit for me since I am dyslexic and need more attention in reading. Students who have special needs or more attention in different areas may need a different method of education in order to do their best. No student should have to choose between sports or extracurriculars and the education that is most likely to help them succeed. The best options, and sometimes the only options, are extracurricular activities in my area or through the schools. It's hard to see my friends being able to participate while I can't. I'm here to ask you to support this bill, not just for me, but for all the homeschooled and non-traditional students who want to participate. Thank you.
Thank you. Next witness testifying in support.
Good evening. My name is Lydia Meredith, and I am a homeschool student from Joplin, Missouri. I appreciate all of you taking the time to listen to what I have to say. So I came here today as an older sister with 3 younger siblings, all of who will be affected by Senate Bill 230. I realize I may be getting too old to benefit from this bill, as well as some others testifying, but I ask that as you listen to my testimony, as well as the others, you realize the importance of this bill on the hearts of all who have come to testify in favor of it and the benefit it will have on the students of Missouri. So through MSHA regulations, school districts are able to allow non-traditional students from the district to participate in extracurriculars and sports if the students take a minimum of 2 classes. However, as my brother said before, our school district completely bans participation. Even so, I cannot participate in the same activities as my friends in my district because of my family's choice of education, although our taxes continue to fund these activities. Multiple states have successfully passed laws allowing homeschooled students access to school sports and extracurriculars with no significant complications, including Florida and Colorado. This bill does not benefit homeschoolers at a price to public schools. In fact, both parties can equally benefit. The language of this bill would require students to take 1 class at their local high school in order to participate in extracurriculars, increasing school attendance, and this means that the schools are eligible to receive more money from the state. So last year, we visited the president of MSHA to discuss our concerns with our current policy. Last year, there was discussion between Representative Hurlbert, who carried this bill in the House, and MSHA, with talk of them changing the policy so that we did not need to pass this bill. 1 year later, no changes have been made concerning this policy, and it is our understanding from the meeting and the president in prior experience that they do not plan to do so. So we are not demanding a spot on the team, simply a chance to try out. This is not public school students versus homeschool students or parents versus teachers, and it is simply us asking to have an opportunity to join the swim team or try out show choir. Whatever hesitations you might have, in the end, it all comes back to what is best for the students. So please support the students of Missouri. Thank you for letting me share my story, and I would greatly appreciate your support of Senate Bill 230.
Next witness testifying in support.
Hello, my name is Melody Meredith, and I am 8 years old and homeschooled in Joplin. I am playing soccer, and I enjoy it very much. You have heard from my 3 older siblings that they are not allowed to play sports. And if nothing happens about this, I also will not be able to play this sport that I love. Playing soccer helps me stay healthy, make friends, learn teamwork, and it is a very good experience. I hope that you allow this bill to pass so my siblings and I can play sports as well as other homeschoolers, as I'm sure they would also love to play sports. I thank you for your time to listen to me. Do you have any questions?
Next witness testifying in support.
Good morning. My name is Sierra Hicks. I'm a freshman in high school, and I've been homeschooled since I was in kindergarten. I believe that homeschoolers should be allowed to participate in MSHA activities because this would be very good for our homeschoolers, for our public schools, and our communities. A lot of families decide to homeschool for a lot of different reasons, but for my family, it was not because we don't value our local community. Some ways that I've been involved in my local community, over the past year, I've helped with 3 candidates' political campaigns. Every week, I intern at a nonprofit art gallery in my town. My family hosts international students and helps with a youth choir of over 160 area public, private, and homeschool students. So even though my family has decided to homeschool, we still believe that the Carthage school system is really important to our community and our future. I personally have been interested in a lot of things besides sports, so I hadn't really thought about the need for homeschoolers to participate in school sports. But recently, especially over the past year, I've noticed it affecting a whole lot of my friends. Like if you're really good at sports and you're really serious about it and you think that you maybe want to play in college someday, the only way that you can do that is to participate in public school sports. And I love homeschooling. It's been my family's lifestyle for as long as I can remember, but I also have things that I'm really passionate about. And I can't imagine having to choose between something I was that passionate about and the lifestyle that I love so much. I believe that homeschool students should be allowed to participate in MISH activities. My family's tax dollars are funding these activities, and homeschoolers leave most of that money in the system for other students. So if I want to try out for something that I'm interested in at my local high school, like maybe debate team or swim team or a music class of some sort, I think it would be fair that I be able to access that part of what my family is already paying for. Another thing is, if a homeschool student is allowed to participate in these sports, that student will have to have work ethic and skill, no less, and maybe even a little more to get playing time on that team. That will challenge all of the players and raise the bar for the whole team. And I think the most important thing is that this would be really good for our communities. As I've experienced in my activities, especially our choir, I think that there is a lot of value in having relationships over a diversity of educational choices. Drawing homeschoolers into our local schools can only help us better support each other and our communities, and I think that's what school's for anyway, is to strengthen our communities for the future. So in conclusion, I ask you to support Senate Bill 230 and Senate Bill 411. Thank you very much for your time. I know I'm open to any questions you might have.
Next witness testifying in support. All right, we have a question from Senator Brattin on the bill sponsor, real quick.
More so a comment that you brought the A team today for support testimony. So
You can see why my comments and my opening comments were brief. These kids are passionate. They're invested in their community. And this bill has gotten bipartisan support in years prior. We would really love to see this be able to get across the finish line. Thank you.
absolutely. Well, thank you, all of you who testified in support. Great job.
Good morning. My name is Timothy Faber, and though I work for the Missouri Baptist Convention, I'm here also on a personal note. We homeschooled our children off and on, and private schools off and on, depending on both economic reasons and opportunities in the communities we lived in at the time. But in particular, my younger son, who's a baseball fanatic, would have loved to have played baseball, and did finally have a chance driving from the lake area to Columbia several times a week for practices and games, because that was the only non-school organized sport that he could play in, because the local schools wouldn't allow him because he was homeschooled. I also know of instances, oftentimes, especially in rural areas, where even the requirement to attend 2 classes a day is burdensome at best to parents who live 15 or 20 miles from their local school in a rural area. And those classes are not always back to back. There is a reason why parents choose homeschools or other educational opportunities. Sometimes it's because of safety, because our nation has had many more student shootings than ever should have happened. Sometimes it's because of discipline, sometimes it's because of curriculum, sometimes it's because of other reasons. But whatever the reason is for a family to choose homeschooling or alternative educational methods, those parents are still taxpayers, and they still have the rights to participate in whatever part or piece of the public school system they would like to, whether that be sports or music or art or drama or whatever the case may be. If they choose to participate in that part, because they are a tax-paying family, they should be able to. And to deprive these children and these students of the opportunity to participate is really an infringement upon their liberties and their opportunities. So we support fully both of these bills, and my guess is there's going to be some combination of the two that's going to be put forward. Thank you. Next witness testifying in support. I'm speaking up. I've had difficulty hearing this morning. I'm Dr. Larry Davis. I was in public education 43 years, superintendent 29. I have 6 points to make with the committee. One, I will start, the beginning will be the end. We are either voting for adults with an agenda or students, one or the other. I have been around the track a number of times on this issue. In 2006, when I was superintendent at Prairie Home, which is not far from here, I had homeschool students come in for band each morning. They'd come in for band and then leave. They never inquired about sports or anything else, just band. That was 17 years ago. In North Dakota, in sports, which we talk a lot about, Michigan wasn't as nasty as they are here. I've had a few battles. To have a ball team for junior high, I had to go down to 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade to have enough boys to have a team. One of those boys was my boy. It was personal. We had a team. At Prairie Home one year, I didn't have enough girls for junior high basketball. I had a 6th grade girl as big as the 7th grade girls and as coordinated, but I couldn't use her according to Michigan. It was better for those 4 students not to have sports that year than for me to use a 6th grader or, heaven forbid, a homeschooler. The tragedy of this is you have a vote, students don't. This is the only time in their life they can participate in these kind of activities. The only time in their life. Senator Bob Dole of Kansas, Mr. Republican, Mr. Conservative, when he was on the committee with the liberals and they were debating food stamps for children, medical care for children, he used to tell his colleagues, we're talking about children here. That's what we're doing here. Thank you. Next witness testifying in support, Senate Bill 230 and 411. Anybody testifying in opposition? Anybody testify for informational purposes only?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Kaina Iman, and on behalf of the Missouri Alliance for Arts Education, I just want to let you know, I tried to catch up with you yesterday, but I did work with Senator Brown on some language that our concern from the art education standpoint is if you want to play like in marching band, you can't just show up on Friday night at the football game and know the routine. So we do think that it is imperative that those students attend if it's a co-curricular class like marching band class to learn that routine. They're more concerned about the arts end of it. I know this is really geared towards the sports end of it, but those are our concerns. And so your language is, I think, fine. There was one section, number 2, in Senator Brown's that we were working with. So,
Questions for this witness? Seeing none, anybody else testify for informational purposes only? All right, seeing none, do you have anything to close with?
Just a reminder that this bill has gotten bipartisan support multiple years. We would really love to see, as you can see, the kids are passionate, invested, and well, very articulate. I'm very proud and pleased to represent them. I would appreciate your support.
Yeah, I'll just echo what was said earlier. You see the passion in all these kids, and this is an issue that hits close to home to me because I mentioned my background in wrestling, and a couple of these kids did as well. When I started that sport when I was 13, 14 years old and literally lost every single match, didn't win one. And I made a goal that I was going to be a state medalist by the time I finished high school, no matter how far out of reach it seemed at the time. And just the lessons I learned working year-round, nonstop, going from nothing to being able to achieve that goal my senior year, I truly believe that set the model and made me who I am today. I think if it wasn't for that experience, I wouldn't have gone on to become a business owner, and I certainly would not be here as one of your colleagues and a fellow senator today.
All right, thank you. That concludes our hearing of Senate Bill 230 and Senate Bill 411. I'll make a motion to adjourn. It's been seconded. All in favor say aye. All those opposed, ayes have it.